News with Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. Shortly before dawn, Jimmy Carter reached the end of his improbable 2-year, half-million-mile political quest and won the presidency. Late in the morning, President Ford conceded Carter's victory. Bob Schieffer reports.
By 10 o'clock this morning, he had concluded it really was all over. He called Carter, and an hour and 15 minutes later, his family with him, Gerald Ford came to the White House press room to make the first concession statement of his political career.
It's perfectly obvious that my voice isn't up to par, and I shouldn't be making very many comments, and I won't. But I do want to express on a personal basis my appreciation and that of my family for the friendship that all of us have had. And after Betty reads the statement that was sent to Governor Carter by me, I think all of us, Betty, the children, and myself, would like to just come down and shake hands and express our appreciation personally. Let me call on the real spokesman for the family, Betty.
It's been the greatest honor of my husband's life to have served his fellow Americans during 2 of the most difficult years in our history. The President urges all Americans to join him in giving your united support to President-elect Carter as he prepares to assume his new responsibilities. I'd like to read you the telegram the President sent to President-elect Carter this morning. Dear Jimmy, although there will continue to be disagreements over the best means to use in pursuing our goals, I want to assure you that you have my complete and wholehearted support as you take the oath of office this January. I also pledge to you that I and all members of my administration will do all that we can to assure that you begin your term as smoothly and as effectively as possible. May God bless you and your family as you undertake your new responsibilities. Signed, Jerry Ford. Thank you very much.
In January, Mrs. Ford says they will return to their home in the Virginia suburbs where they lived before Mr. Ford became the first unelected president. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, the White House.
And in January, the Jimmy Carters of Plains, Georgia will move into the White House. But Plains still is home, and it was there the man who will be the 39th president headed with his victory. Ed Bradley reports.
Any way you looked at it, it was a long night, and by the time the Carter campaign returned to Albany, Georgia, 9-year-old Amy was asleep in her father's arms. But the president-elect's hometown was wide awake, and Billy Carter was at the head of the line saying to his brother, "I guess I can still call you Jimmy." They'd been up all day and partied in the street all night, and if ever there was a hometown boy who grew up, made good, and never forgot the home folks, it was Jimmy Carter. And if ever there was a mother proud of her son, it had to be Miss Lillian. And at this proudest time in his life, Jimmy Carter was home again in this almost make-believe town with people who have meant so much to him.
I came all the way through 22 months, and I didn't get choked up until I... until I turned the corner and saw you standing here. And I said, people that are that foolish, we could get beat, right?
Through the long night, the Carter staff had remained confident, but their apprehension and concern grew as his electoral vote total stood for hours just short of a majority. Across the street at the World Congress Center, 25,000 people inside and another 15,000 outside had celebrated all night, but it was nothing compared to the moment of victory. During the campaign, Carter was a candidate who made few excuses, but back home in Plains, he generously shared his success and apologized for the long evening.
I had the best organization any candidate ever had. Had the best family any candidate ever had. Had the best home community any candidate ever had. Had the best supporters in my home state any candidate ever had. And the only reason we were close last night was because the candidate wasn't quite good enough as a campaigner. But I'll make up for that when I'm president.
In his first official act after acknowledging victory, Carter returned to the now familiar train depot to thank Mr. Ford for his statement of congratulations and offer of cooperation.
One of the very first tasks facing any new president is the unification of our country after a close and hard-fought election. President Ford's characteristically gracious statement today will make that job much easier for me.
Jimmy Carter's major concern now is the transition. In a typical Carter blueprint, his transition staff has been working since the Democratic convention on this changeover in government. They've compiled a long list of people to be considered for cabinet and other positions, and Carter campaign manager Hamilton Jordan said there will be a lot of new faces in Washington. Some of them will be experienced with well-known names, but most will be people you've probably never heard of. Ed Bradley, CBS News, Plains, Georgia.
Scattered vote.